Okay, at 5 o'clock, let's get started. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thanks everyone for coming. Ashley, if you could mark on the roll call that Julie Johnson called and had an emergency and may join us later, but she's not present at the beginning of the meeting, but we do have a forum. So item number 3, the open forum. This is a time of listening for the board. Is there anyone who'd like to speak to the board at this time? Mike? Sure, push the button there and then just make sure you say your name. Give it about a second after you push it.
Is it on? Lights on.
Okay. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I'd like to share with you an email I sent on February 4th to my daughter's geography teacher, the principal of the high school, and the assistant principal for 8th grade. As of today, I have not received a response. It was regarding the geography bee. I said, I would like to meet with you in person as soon as possible next week. This was sent on February 4th, like I say, to discuss why my daughter, Tierney, was told today she could not take the final qualifying test for the geography bee. It was to have been done on Tuesday, February 2nd, which was a snow day, as was the next day, Wednesday, February 3rd. On those days off, my daughter prepared for it. She had an app on our iPad. She was 4th, I think, at the Southwest Geography Bee 2 years ago, and she was excited to try it again. She prepared for it, expecting it to be given to her and another student on Thursday, February 4th. Instead, on that day, she was told that it would be given tomorrow. That would be Friday the 5th. But since she was going to be absent for an excused absence, she could not participate. I concluded with, please let me know what time we can schedule this. As of today, like I said, I have not had a response. I did send an email again today to the principal and assistant principal, and as of meeting time, I have not had a response. I would still like a response. I would like to know what the rules were that she was denied the opportunity to do this. I would like still an answer, please. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sorry, maybe I didn't say Mike Murtaugh, 313 Willamore Road.
Thanks. I'd just ask Dr. Funk to comment. I think the concerning, I don't know the details, but the lack of response is concerning.
Yes.
And I think the board acknowledges that that's not acceptable.
Yes.
And I'll ask Dr. Funk to comment further.
Absolutely. The lack of response is not acceptable. And I would encourage you, Mike, in the future, if this occurs, contact me. Because, I mean, it's important that the board hears this, but if we want some resolution, I'm the guy you go to on this. So I will certainly meet with the high school principal tomorrow to discuss this issue. And the only thing I can think of off the top of my head is, are you using the alschools.org emails?
Yes.
Okay. Then I have no reason why.
At alschools.org.
Yep.
Yep.
Because we changed them a few years ago.
Yes.
So,
Oh, yes.
but
I used to work in IT. I understand that an email sent is not an email delivered.
so
But anyway.
so I would I'll tell you, I'll get back to you tomorrow on that. And if you could send me a test email tonight, just to verify. But we'll get to the bottom of it.
All right. And I like to do it, I don't like to just call somebody out of the blue and, demand a meeting or anything like that. That's why I used email. Anyway, that's why.
Thanks for
Thank you.
bringing that to our attention. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board at this time? Anyone else that would like to address the board at this time? Seeing no others, we'll move on to item number 4, celebrating our successes. The first one is the recognition of our certified Google educators, and Mr. Griswold's going to present that. Kenneth.
Hi, thank you. Kenneth Griswold here. Good, the mic's still on. I just wanted to, before we jump right into recognizing our certified educators, I wanted to let you know that we're going to try to roll in the recognition with the Chromebook demonstration. So essentially, what we've done is I've invited Mark and Bill and Kristen to collaborate with me on a presentation, sharing some of the things they've been doing this year with Google Apps and Chromebooks, and then you all have been shared on that presentation with commenting rights. So you have the opportunity to add comments on the slides as we go. And so I'm going to demonstrate that for you so you see how that looks, but you can do that on your Chromebook if you choose to do as sort of a demonstration of what collaboration through Google Apps looks like, okay? So essentially what you'll do is you can, for the board members, the public board members, when you open Chrome on your Chromebook, you will have up here in the bookmarks bar that will say alschools.org bookmarks. And if you click that, there will be a link that says GCE School Board Recognition, and that'll take you right to this presentation. If you're a student board member or Dr. Funk or Lori Voles, you can access this through the short link. It's bit.ly/capital GCE recognition, so you can also comment. Okay, so you'll have an opportunity as we share to see what this looks like and add comments. And I'll just say, I'll jump ahead to that slide to add a comment. Looks a little strange on the screen here. Everything gets stretched out a little bit, but let me jump ahead to that slide. So what you'll do is at the top in the toolbar, you'll see a button that looks like this. That's the Add Comment button. And you can click that when you're looking at any slide, and it'll pop up a little comment for a place for you to leave a comment for these educators. Okay? Questions?
Go back to what's the link again?
Yep, I'll go back to this first screen. And all of you can get to, if you can't find the bookmark I mentioned, you can type this in to the address bar. It's bit.ly/capital GCE, that stands for Google Certified Educator Recognition.
It's going to be capital.
Yeah, the capital GCE and then lowercase recognition. Okay?
Just so people know what we're doing. I had some questions from parents about what are Chromebooks and what's this Google stuff, and I was able to talk about it a little bit, but I'd never actually seen it or done it, and I didn't know if the rest of us had, so that's why we're here, and I think that'd be good so that we understand what's going on. So.
Right, and I'll be sure to, at the conclusion of this presentation, then answer any questions you have or demonstrate anything else you'd like to see as well. But this I thought was a nice way to get started. So, okay, so let's jump in. First of all, I just wanted to invite Mark and Kristen and Bill to join me up here if they would. These teachers are full-time teachers, but they're also our building tech integration coaches, and they have done a fantastic job supporting staff in their buildings, in addition to the students in their classroom, to support the integration of technology. And I challenged all our coaches this summer at our retreat in August to consider going through the process to become certified from Google for Education as a certified educator. It's a really good program that emphasizes not just the applications and the tools, but really the application of those tools in an educational setting. And it's the courses and the materials are designed by award-winning educators that use these tools every day. So I thought it was a really good program and well worth the time, but a significant investment of time. So I'm really pleased and proud to recognize these educators for taking the initiative and accepting the challenge and to become level 2 certified educators. I asked for level 1 and they all three went to level 2. So it's pretty great. So just what that indicates is that someone who has this certification is certified by Google for Education, that they can successfully integrate a wide range of Google for Education tools and other technologies to transform their teaching practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to them one at a time and let them just talk for a few slides about some of the things that they're doing.
So Mark Nekaneki, fourth grade at Lakeview. I start with this slide here. There's lots of ways to demonstrate. They call it the 4 C's. So collaborate, creativity, connections, community. That's a popular framework for educators right now. Think about 21st century learning, not just teaching, but what the kids are learning. So I picked that one, and I was thinking this weekend how exciting it is to teach right now, because I'm doing a lot of the things as a teacher that I couldn't do when I was an engineer over 10 years ago. So I remember back doing sales presentations, and we would send back copies back and forth, and who has the master copy? And now you just all log into the same file and do it. And my kids in my class are creating Google Slides together. One updates it at home, and I couldn't do that when I was an engineer. And just thinking of the workflow and how you don't have to get tripped up on who has which file and different things, and how easy it is to get information put together so that you can do things that you want, which is what we want the kids to do. So I think it's kind of cool that I'm doing things that I couldn't do 10 years ago as an engineer. You think the engineers are always doing the cool stuff, but they're not. So, whoops, I did click it. I'm not going to play the whole movie, but one thing we do, I don't want to sign up. One thing we're doing to connect the classrooms is, like during morning meeting or snack, we will take and do a mystery Skype. Usually it's set up weeks in advance on Twitter or some other thing, but that's an actual smartboard projection of another class. That boy is not in our class. I believe this one is from down south. But what you do is the kids don't know where they are. We study the regions in the United States. So using yes/no questions, like 20-question format, the kids dig out their atlases, their Chromebooks, they go to Google Earth, and they try to figure out where is the other class. And before teaching map skills used to be kind of a worksheet drill. Now you have kids discussing back and forth. You went asked, do you board the Pacific Ocean? If they already asked if they're in the Western region, and the kids are helping each other understand, like, that's not a great question. We got to they want to be the first one always. So I'll just start this one. So this is live. You go to Microsoft kind of adopt this Skype.
Are you ready to begin?
You'll see my kids are eating their snacks, so this is done during snack time.
We are a fourth grade class learning about the regions of the United States. Our teacher is Mr. Grenham. We would like to take turns asking yes or no questions to figure out where you live. Now, are you ready to begin?
Yes, we are. And the first question is one of my kids' favorite questions. You think of the state of Minnesota, we had a big debate about how to answer this one, so we decided this was the best answer.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and are you west of the Mississippi River? Yes and no.
So we decided we were not going to play nice that time. So, because a lot of the people who Skype with us think that Duluth is the headwaters of the Mississippi, so we like to help them with that. So we've done, it's probably 2 or 3 a month, but the kids' geographic skills really go up high. And at the end, you'll share some commonalities and some differences. You can compare and contrast schools. So we've got that. Let's see, next slide. You can see things we share on Twitter. Here is us Skyping with Oklahoma, North Carolina. This one happened last month. We Skyped with a school in New York City. They're a block from Central Park. Their recess is on top of the building. So this is a picture they took at recess for us, because you can imagine we compared and contrasted, dealt really quite well with them. Next thing, once in a while, you'll connect on Twitter or through our class blog. Mexico, we did December, and Ireland. So sometimes you work in some international connections. And we also connect to experts. There's 3 videos I have here. We've connected some authors. So this is an author that the kids like the book in the library. It's a National Geographic. Jennifer Swanson, she's a middle school science teacher that writes for lots of nonfiction, science books. Kids like the book, so we contacted her, and she did a Skype with us. So the kids did all kinds of things, and she was quite impressed. There's one page where you read a bunch of words, and then you have to recite them back. You're supposed to get 3 of the 20 right, and one of my kids still to this day can read all 20 words. He's got a photographic memory. So she was impressed by that. You hear really good questions that tie in with writing. Why do you like to write? And what gets you inspired? And they find out that the writing process doesn't always neatly follow exactly what, sometimes we teach them. And it takes longer. The kids are surprised how long it takes to get a book published. The one on the right, that's the National Park Ranger in Denali National Park, Alaska. We've also done Yellowstone, Grand Tetons. There's one in Florida. The kids prepare questions, they research the park, and then they ask the park rangers directly. So you could take on a virtual trip there. And there's also things that you have to mention these days. We had Yellowstone National Park. It was eye-opening for some of the girls in the class because both park rangers were women. So, you start to think, oh, that's a possible career. So, just like the one down at the bottom, that's one of the senior managers at Microsoft. She Skyped with us. She knows 5 languages. She basically does the Microsoft version of Siri, but different languages. So she'll do like the Thai version of it. So she was talking about how she sets those things up. So there's those. Here we are connecting. Something else that we do to connect to our classmates and parents. There's lots of different apps. One's called Seesaw, but basically the kids take a picture of what they're doing in class. It could be, there's the brand new math curriculum right there. And then they audio record what their mathematical thinking is, and then kids can comment on what they liked and what they have questions about. And these kids here were explaining how they got the electric circuit to work. So they took a picture of their circuit diagram, and then they were explaining why that was a circuit and why the switch turned it off. And then we have some reading, compare, contrast. So you get your quieter, introverted kids to really kind of get drawn out and join. So next one, connecting to the world. There's a 4th grade chat on Twitter that I participate in, and one of the, it's nice to own a book, but the reason I have this book is because the teacher's a 4th grade teacher, and she's recommended the book from Twitter chat. And then we are connecting with a teacher in Iowa, and he has a Google Doc that's public on the internet, and our students are going to add their book reviews to his Google Slides. So there's this Google Slide book review document is right now about 6 or 7 states. Different kids are submitting their book reviews. So the kids are quite excited. You always say you have to publish your work, but it used to be staple it to the hallway corkboard line. But here it means, people around the world are going to read your book review. The kids kind of feel a little bit more vested in doing a good job, I think. And there's some just nice things that come embedded with the Google Docs. There's speech recognition where the kids are talking. The kids that can't type very fast. You talk into Google Drive and Google Doc, it just pretty much gets most of the words you say. Names are a little bit difficult, but so we have that. And then connecting colleagues. So one thing that we try to do at Lakeview is some of these things you can't do in a big training. So in October, just to kind of go with Halloween, we had a Twix or Treat campaign, and if you let me come to your room, then I would give you the chocolate, which is always good for teachers, and then set them up on Twitter, and then more importantly, show them how to set up a professional learning network. And basically, they start to make connections to other peers outside the district. So basically, you have the PLCs on Wednesday, but now you have maybe on Monday at 7 o'clock as the 4th grade teachers are chatting about things, and you start to get, cross-fertilization of ideas and stuff. And George Kuros spoke at TIES, and he had an interesting quote, basically, what if we started sharing what we do well? And social media is one place we need to do that. So lots of interesting things going on. I feel like we're at the beginning of what we're doing. There's so many new things every year. It's really an exciting time to watch the kids learn. So that's my part.
Musical chairs.
Yep, I will move.
I'm Kristen Seeger. I'm a media specialist at Sibley in Lakeview, and then I'm the building technology integration coach at Sibley. So I split my time between the 2 buildings and do what I can at Sibley for tech integration. Also work closely with Mark at Lakeview with all of the things that he's doing in his classroom. So the thing I have on my first slide is just a list of things that I'm working with teachers and students on. The first thing with our Chromebooks and Google Apps for Education is our PLC collaboration. So every Wednesday when we meet, all of the things that we work on are done through our Chromebooks and shared documents, which has been very beneficial for all of us. Not just the paper shuffling, but the ability to work on things together at the table and comment on each other's work, and just the ease of all of that has been good. We are in kind of an interesting situation at Sibley with our Chromebooks. We don't have a pilot cart. We were actually able to purchase 30 Chromebooks through our Purpich Arts Integration Grant last year. So we received all of the money through Purpich to get 30 Chromebooks and a charging cart, and we use those in the arts classrooms, so music, phy ed, and art, and then with me in media. We are also using them with Gail Brownlow. So when her students are done with her, they get to access those Chromebooks to work on their enrichment activities as well. We have set up Google Classroom for 4th and 5th grade writing units, and we're trying to, just in the beginning stages of that, trying to get them set up with the classroom piece of it, and also working through KidBlog, which is directly connected to Google Apps for Education, to do some blogging with 4th and 5th grade as well. My piece of the Perpich Arts Integration Unit is mostly blogging with the 4th graders as we go through the culture unit. So the first thing I wanted to show was this model. Mark touched on the 4 C's, and this is another model that we really try to focus on as we're helping teachers integrate technology, and we call it the SAMR model, or the SAMR model. And Sylvia Duckworth has this put together to demonstrate really what these levels are. The first level is basically no technology and just using our traditional methods of teaching and learning. The second level is substitution, so we're using technology just as a substitute for what we could normally do with paper and pencil, which is
Smartboard to draw on instead of a whiteboard.
exactly, or typing in Microsoft Word instead of writing a final draft in cursive. So that's what we use it a lot for. It's not a bad level to be at, but it's kind of where most people are comfortable at this point, in a canoe with a life jacket on. The next one is augmentation, and so now we're acting with a little bit more improvement. So we're kind of getting down there a little bit. We can't see the bottom of the ocean real well, but we're getting there. Modification is kind of where we jump that line from enhancement to transformation, and we're really allowing for significant redesign. And the final is redefinition for doing things that we never thought possible. Mark's example of the Twitter challenge with his book reviews. Who would have ever thought that kids from 7 states could work on the same document together, creating those book reviews? So trying to get our staff comfortable enough to kind of cross that line with certain things. Not that we always want to be at redefinition, but trying to make that a little more comfortable zone for modification and redefinition. So that's what we really see as our goal in tech integration. And then I just have some snaps from Twitter of things that my kids and teachers have been doing at Sibley and Lakeview. So I'm, as a media specialist, doing technology integration just naturally in my job, but also working with the Perpich Arts Integration Grant to kind of on a higher level, getting that done at Sibley. So we have our Chromebooks at Sibley, and we're blogging and connecting through KidBlog, which they were super nervous about at first because their classmates were going to read their writing, and they were really apprehensive to publish, but now we're getting more comfortable with that. We started Google Classroom last week with 5th grade at Sibley, and we did a Valentine's Day hyperdoc so that they could practice getting into their classroom and doing that assignment, and that was pretty exciting to get that ball rolling for Ms. Schaefer and for Ms. Mapes. And I reminded the kids that we're all in a learning process together, so to be patient, and I think they appreciate that when you can say, we don't really know how, we know how it's going to go, but you really need to just kind of roll with us, and that's kind of fun. So again, the middle picture is when we did some writing with Mark and Melinda's classes together in the lab at Lakeview. We modified our class one day and had 60 kids in there using computers and Chromebooks doing that lesson together. So it was packed, but we made it work. And I think that's one thing that we realize is that we can make things work if we just try it. And the last slide is more pictures. This was, on the left is an example of Teresa Burgundy's music classroom. That's where the Chromebooks are housed at Sibley, is in her room, and she uses them with 4th and 5th grade during their specialist times. And then we did some coding in December to participate in the Hour of Code. So these were kids using the Chromebooks for that. We also used desktop computers and iPads, but these were us on the Chromebooks. So pretty excited to be a part of this. I was a classroom teacher for 9 years and made this jump 2.5 years ago, and I've been in this role, been very, very excited about all the things that we're doing, and I think we're very blessed to have Kenneth lead us on this path, and pretty excited to see where we go from here.
Hi, I'm Bill Wheatman. I teach math at the high school, and I'm also a tech integration coach up there. My first slide here,
Hang on, and Bill is also working on his superintendent license, so you might see Bill over the next 6 months or so at various meetings, and he might be doing some things for us. Sorry.
no, that's okay. My focus kind of is on our teachers. So this first slide is just 15 things that kind of challenging our teachers to try to do it technology-wise. We actually have a digital learning day coming up on February 17th, and kind of challenging our teachers to participate in that, just doing something digital and helping their students in that learning process. So each one of these are links, so I'll let you go ahead and play around with them as you feel like you want to. But as a staff, we're working on curriculum writing, and we're doing that through Google Docs, uploading them to the website that you'll see that's linked there. We're also working on some professional development, and we're doing a little bit more with personalized, and Kenneth and I are working on that along with Andrew Gustafson at the middle school as well. Screencastify is a Google add-on that has allowed me to create different videos that are helping our teachers integrate these different Google apps in the classroom. And that link there is actually linked to all of the videos that I've sent out to our teachers. So you're able to see kind of the different things that we're talking about at the high school with that. And then the technology integration, so there's so much. Like these two have talked about a significant number of them, and I just am proud to be sitting here with these two, because you can just imagine being in their classroom, like the work that's happening there and the technology integration that they're doing. And you'll be able to use that link that is there to be able to see just a few other different apps that are available for us as teachers to use in technology in our classes. So it's almost like a double click.
Because you have commenting rights, yeah, it doesn't directly link. It gives you that pop-up link.
Did that work? Okay, yeah. Some things that we're doing specifically, this is tied a little bit to my classroom. So we use Google Classroom for all of my classes that I'm teaching. And there's a few different things that you'll be able to see as you go into the Google Classroom site there. Idea farming, so my stats students are participating in 20% projects, so 20% of their time is given to doing anything that they would like to do. I'm not gearing it in any way, I'm leading it and facilitating it. And there's videos too. And so I actually would like you, if you have time either tonight or some other time, to participate in this idea farming. So when you go through that Google form, it helps the students as they're trying to come up with ideas, especially right now. I've sent that out to our whole high school. I've sent it out to a few people through Twitter, and sent it out to my personal learning network to try to get ideas for students to help them that can better our community and better their school. The third one down is the statistics course webpage. So I've put the whole statistics course on a webpage. It is a constantly changing thing. Every year and every semester we have a statistics course. It is ever evolving. So students comment on it. Students will change the curriculum as we go along. They'll say, I didn't really enjoy this one, and we'll try as a group to come up with other ways to teach that same standard. And so they're building that course, and you'll be able to see that webpage there. And then I use a method called the flipped classroom, and so I have some individualized flipped learning. You'll see some different things in there that allow students to be moving at their own individual paces through some of my courses. Here's just a couple things. Right now we're actually working on 5.3 in Algebra 2, but the slide on the right there you can see is 5.6. That is because some of the students that are in my Algebra 2 class are actually working in 5.6. So they're able to be ahead in the curriculum even though they're sitting in my classroom just because of the way that this flipped classroom works. Additionally, I get feedback from the students in order to make this a better process for them using a Google form like you see on the left there. These are just some of the things that happened in Google Classroom in my statistics course in the last month. And then this video here on the right is kind of talks about, similar to what Mark does, we had a hangout with a gentleman that works at NASA for our statistics course, and he basically reiterated all the different work that we had done throughout the year and showed the students all the vocabulary words that they're learning are actually being used to navigate the space. So it was a pretty good hangout, and there's a little bit of a version of that in that video, along with student examples. So Mark talked about some of the things that his students were doing, and Kristen talked about some of the things that the 4th and 5th graders are doing in terms of explaining their reasoning. We're doing that same thing at the high school, and I use it as a quizzing method. It's similar to what an elementary school would be doing with a math talk. And then we have a Gapminder project, so we take a large, expansive amount of data and put it together and discuss and analyze using these iPads. And these are just some of the different things that happen with the 20% time. The hashtag on Twitter is Genius Hour, even though I call it 20% time, so you'll see the hashtag Genius Hour. These are examples from last year. The students talked about different interviewing techniques, how to find happiness, how to play tennis, how to do technology. They also talked about book writing and blogging, how to do proper techniques in dance, how to properly fish for walleye, which all of those things I've never done, and so they're very kind of cool to listen to the students as they go along. And then finally, just some different things. We do infographics and statistics as well, creating and analyzing data. And then the middle slide there happened, I think maybe a week and a half ago with Mr. Gaston. He was using the Chromebooks, so trying to incorporate all the different things that our staff are doing, because it's pretty amazing what we were able to do with this technology.
Thank you. Any questions for us before I recognize these three?
Can you get a presentation mode on that and add a slide? Why don't you do that?
New slide there is fine, or there you go.
Okay. So now,
Do you want me to change them to edit mode, or?
are they not in edit mode?
I've got them on comment, but I can shift them. It'll take a moment.
So, but what you can do is let's go to, go back a slide, Ashley. Go to the,
Oh, sorry.
that's fine. Go back to the last slide 24. Okay, and then your upper right-hand corner, you can put comments, put comment, and then does it show up? There it is. So somebody you could be collaborating on a document. We only got comments on, but if we gave full editing rights to everybody, we could be sitting in different rooms, typing and editing this document live. That's where the real collaboration comes in.
Right, and I mean, we built this presentation together that way. None of us met before tonight to plan this. We just had a plan and then worked on it independently over the last several days until we got ready. So that's the way that works. And yeah, so like I said, anywhere as you review this, I'd invite you to you can use this comment button up here, but you can also use this comment button here. So on any slide that you're looking at, you know, if you wanted to comment on Kristen's tweets here, you could click the comment button right here and then add your comment, and it'll have your name, and these are threaded comments, so you might get a reply, and you can have a conversation back and forth, and you will receive email updates if someone responds to a comment, so you can continue the conversation. So that's just a demonstration. Any further questions about that, or?
Other questions? Where, like if something's down, like a kid blog is down, that's a Google, you call Google and they fix it? Or we house some of these things? Or where physically are some of these servers?
So KidBlog is a third-party service that integrates with Google Apps, but the core Google Apps for Education, which is Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, Google Drawings, Google Forms, Google Classroom, Calendar, Gmail, which we don't use, Google Sites. Those are the core applications in Google Apps for Education. and they are housed on Google's servers. But we have a independent domain. It's not like a normal Gmail account. It's a Google Apps for Education account, which comes with additional features, additional protections for privacy, for example, no ads in Gmail, that kind of thing, so that we're fully compliant with all the things we need to be compliant with regards to student data privacy. So that's a difference, but that's a domain in which we live in. And then sometimes there are third-party applications like KidBlog that will integrate with Google Apps to provide additional. There is, for example, there is a blogging platform that's associated with Google Apps for Education called Blogger, but it is not designed for kids under 13. Its terms of service don't support that. But KidBlog is. It has a lot of additional protections, and it's designed for the education market, which is why Kristen's been using KidBlog. And Mark mentioned a tool called Seesaw, which we're rolling out heavily on our iPads in grades K1 and 2 coming up. It's an e-portfolio app, and Mark's been testing it on Chromebook for us, and that's a third-party application that integrates with Google Apps.
Remind us again what a Chromebook costs?
The ones that you have here were about $220. The ones that we purchased for the teachers this year and for our shared carts were $198 a piece plus $23 management license, so about $220 altogether per device.
Thanks. Other questions or comments? Bill?
I'd be curious with regards to how much time or what the process is for you, Mark, and the others on connecting with the people that you're doing the Google Hangouts with, and the geography stuff that you're doing. What type of time? How do you set that up?
Well, I guess Kenneth can attest this. I was kind of a reluctant Twitter joiner because I'm just not someone that I have enough tech in my life, because engineering kind of filled that void when I was 25. But got signed up into Twitter, and basically I think Kenneth has the best way of explaining it. You have serendipity. So you're thinking in the back of your head, I got to fix something, I should do something. All of a sudden there on Twitter is a teacher saying, hey, we should do this. So it's right there in front of you. You have this highly dense, packed thing. It does take time. You just try to fit it in. So, I mean, maybe in the evening, spend 5-10 minutes and kind of see what's there, and then the other nights just let it be. And then it might be something just putting yourself out there. I've been trying to blog more, and yesterday I got a comment on my blog from this woman in Brazil saying, I saw your blog post, we should do something. So sometimes you just have to kind of put yourself out there, and a lot of it's just connections you make. I was talking with Kristen about blogging before break, and then over break I was looking on with the 4th grade teachers who they chat, all of them tweet at the same time using the hashtag 4th grade. And all of a sudden they said, this is not the domain for this, let's just do a Google Hangout. So I'm kind of Skyping, video conferencing with these 5 teachers, and we talk about different ideas. So it basically is there when you need an idea, is what I'm finding out. So if you feel like you're stuck, or the kids aren't learning the right way, or it just sounds too cool not to not do, so then you do it. So, but there's some time involved after school, but I'm not spending as much time, maybe prepping copies, because the kids have things electronically now. So you hope the long term that you get more efficient at some other things. So.
And I think that comes after you build that professional learning network, and that's what your Twix and Tweet campaign that we did. Building that ahead of time so people have that to go to is very beneficial.
Just had one other question. Do you see fairly soon that snow days will be extinct? No?
It's interesting, there's just an article in the paper on that last week. The secondary level, okay, but, and we have, one of our principals is from Glencoe, and she Diane Schultz, and they tried that in Glencoe last year. At the K5, K6 level, it's packet intensive. They just send packets of homework home for the kids to do. So it's not as, the feedback parents have given, they've tried it in Farmington and a couple of places in the Twin Cities, is mixed at best.
I think that the way I'm looking at it, though, is snow days are say 2 or 3 days depending on the winter, but I've got kids now that, most nights I get a document edit from a kid at home, and I'm not assigning this as homework. So their homework is to read for a half hour and work on some math, heavily curricular, and kids are reading a news article and answering questions. We put out some bonus work for them, and we don't ask them, you don't say it's homework, but they'll go home and do it, and then you get, so the other 180 some days of the year, you're getting extra work from the kids just because it's cool for them, so.
I have, I'm very picky about the things that I put on my blog, and I work with 800 students at the 2 elementary schools, and constantly showing them things on there and encouraging them to use it. And for example, Thanksgiving morning by 8:30, I had 32 visitors on my blog that day. And so I know that kids are using it, and I know that they're going out to find those educational resources that we're giving to them if they have the connectivity and if they have the devices at home. That's the big question.
So do the students need to have Wi-Fi at home then to do a lot of the work? Are you finding that most do, or is that?
Ours don't go home, so the students.
I'll trade with you.
Yeah, we do have some data on that. We surveyed students and staff using Bright Bites, which is a survey tool that we used in the fall, and we're going to use again in the spring. And we want to do a little pre-prep to make sure that at elementary level, kids have a really solid understanding of what it is we're asking, because we're concerned that maybe that was the case, that we had some confusion. But in our middle school and high school, we were over 90% of students reporting that they have access outside of school. So that was a lot higher than we were anticipating. So we want to drill down on that a little bit and learn a little bit more about what that means. But we're also working on plans where we can help to fill that gap where there is a gap. And so we're testing some solutions for that currently in our preparation for our deployment at our middle school next year and then ongoing beyond that. We're counting on 4 or 5 years in our plan, so that's our hope. And we've seen there's other districts that have been on Chromebook since 2010, and so we've got that track record. And most of them are saying that their original devices lasted that 4 or 5 years as a whole. I mean, you still have to replace some and repair some and all of that, but as a whole, they were able to get that life. And the performance on them after that 4 or 5 years was not terrible. It was essentially comparable to what it was when it started. So they didn't see a lot of degradation in performance on the devices over time either, which was a good sign.
Does the maintenance contract cover the $23 cover the duration?
It's not a maintenance contract. That's just a management. That allows us to manage it through the management console. Our current devices, which in the pilot, we are self-insuring. And we're looking at what our options are regarding and what our repairs have been and what those costs are as we evaluate and plan for.
Some districts
ongoing years.
charge when they pass out devices, and I'm not sure the legality of that. That they a $25 deposit or something like that, and not sure where that piece is. So that's
there's many solutions. Some districts there's third-party insurers where parents can. Which they basically just give the information to families, and families can purchase insurance. The families would be responsible for replacing a device, but then the purchase insurance. There's different models. We'll have to see what makes the most sense and what we can do in our state and in our situation. Right now, we're planning to self-insure. We're in the process of working with the building leadership team right now at the middle school to determine finally, are we going to be cart-based in core academic classes plus shared carts next year at grades 6 and 7, or are we going to be a true take-home one-to-one where we issue devices, or are we doing something different in grade 6 and grade 7? These are all things that are being considered by that team right now. So we'll have a full report once those decisions have been finalized.
Other questions or comments? So I want to thank all of you for coming. I learned very much tonight, and I appreciate that. First of all, I learned I'm not nearly as technologically advanced as I thought I was. So you may see me enrolled in one of your classes. And I think the thing that's really struck me the most, the technology is great, but it's so encouraging to see a group of people that are so dedicated, and it just pleases me, for lack of a better word, that you're in front of our kids showing them how to do this stuff. So I think we're very fortunate that we have you all. and we'd like to recognize your efforts. Ken has some plaques for you.
Mark? Didn't shake Bill. Oh, didn't shake Mark's hand. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks again. Item 5, approval of today's agenda. I need a motion to approve a day's agenda. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Item 6, consent items. I would need a motion to approve the consent items as listed. Is there a motion? There's a motion from Bill, a second? From Dave, any discussion? All in favor, aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Item 7.1, Superintendent Report. Dr. Funk.
Well, keeping with the theme of technology, I've got a kind of a cool welcoming slide. I think some of you may have seen this on Facebook. But there's a Valentine's message that was created by the 4th grade, Mark and Melinda, Mark Nikonecki and Melinda Telemontes. Their 4th grade classes came together. They used a drone, and I want to show you what this was put out last week. It's supposed to be a hashtag. It didn't quite, the hashtag didn't quite work out there, but
Teachers are on the hashtag, and that's as far as the kid's gonna lay on it.
so anyhow, I thought, you know, speaking of technology, what a great thing. And I can't say enough about the board and their support of what we've been doing with the technology. You know, I think we came to you in 2010 or 11 asking you to put in a wireless infrastructure. And what we have done since then has been remarkable. And the other thing is, again, I want to just thank the staff. And we've got our early adopters here, and they have just done a remarkable job of bringing people along. And a lot of districts just go, bang, we're going to go one-to-one. And people are kind of overwhelmed. But we continue to see great things here, and I think more and more people are getting on board with what we're doing. And so it's great to see. And great job tonight. That was very good. Just a couple things. You had the presentation on John Baylor Prep. We have 34 students signed up for the ACT Prep. We're going to be coming in 4 days a week at 7 in the morning. And Bill Wheatman will be teaching the ACT Prep in addition to all the other stuff he's doing, his math stuff, his superintendent license stuff. And so that'll be a good thing. Just a reminder, science fair is Saturday at the mall at 9 o'clock. We still need judges. So if you are free, show up at 9 on Saturday, and I'm sure we can find something for you to do. Real quick, the legislature start to go to the remodeled Capitol next week. Some things that are out there. The governor's really pushing universal early childhood. MSBA is kind of pushing back because a lot of districts just went to all-day, everyday kindergarten, and they didn't necessarily have space. Now suddenly they're being told, okay, you may have universal preschool. So MSBA is really pushing to allow districts to do it when they're ready. Teacher shortages I've heard more about teacher shortages this year than probably any time since I've been a superintendent. We see some, I'll probably have Mark Roseklaus and Jim and maybe one or two of the other principals come at a meeting in the near future to talk about this issue. It's a statewide issue. The other thing we have are some concerns from Minnesota seems to have a higher threshold for licensure than other states, more specific in some areas. And so somebody can come from out of state and they have a difficult time getting a license here in Minnesota. So they're looking to maybe loosen up those rules a little bit. And then the other thing is provide funding for the unfunded teacher and development and evaluation mandate. They said teachers have got to be evaluated in a certain way in 2014. And if you weren't a QComp district, which fortunately we are, they provided no extra dollars for it. So those are some of the key issues that are going to be coming up in the next few months at the legislature. And that concludes my report.
Have you heard anything about the surplus, some of that coming to education?
Well, the governor wants to use that for the early childhood.
Oh, just for that?
That's his primary focus. I mean, there's people who are asking for more money on the general formula, but I've not heard a lot of support for that.
All right, thank you. 7.2 student school board members. Justine?
Mine is short. We recently had finals, and some feedback on that is we tried something new this semester, correct? It was each class was the same class amount of time as you would have on a normal day, and then that was your finals for 2 days. And earlier this year we had done it where it was a mixed up schedule where you had longer class periods. And some people had said that they had a really hard time because they didn't have enough time to take their tests. A lot of teachers do the same tests in this shorter amount of time, so it was a struggle. And that is really all I have to report to you guys today. We have Winterfest week this week, and so the dance will be Saturday, and other than that, nothing really new.
Okay, thanks. 7.3 school board member reports. Jill?
I attended the Family Collaborative meeting, which is an umbrella for a lot of really good groups that are in the community. One of them is alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, which I'm usually a part of, but I was out of state, so I wasn't able to attend that. I did attend the ACEs meeting, the Adverse Childhood Experiences meeting, and they have a great group going and a lot of different organizations there, and some discussions are starting about how we can use this information and even have it be a help for schools. There's a documentary on a school out west, I'm not sure where, called Paper Tigers, where they've developed a trauma-based response for these kind of students, and we're going to be getting that documentary here. I also attended the curriculum committee. They had a great group full of people there. Kenneth also presented there about the Seesaw app that was discussed briefly tonight, and it was it sounds like a great thing for kids. Like they were saying, they can post what they're doing, they can look back and see, they can put words with, and one thing I really like about it is that parents can have access immediately at home and can comment back to their children, and it sounds like a really good thing. Also, one of our maths specialists presented about the new math curriculum, and it sounds like there are a lot of good conversations students are having about math now and looking at it in different ways, so that was exciting. Even the snow day situation came up in the curriculum committee because one of the members was saying that I think their grandchild was in a district where they were able to access some kind of schoolwork on their device at home and then did not have to make up the school day. I think they were elementary, but I don't know how their response was to that. Looking forward to reading in Lakeview this Thursday. And then I have a question that was kind of given to me from the community about wondering, there's been a lot of discussion about snow days and calendar, wondering who's on the calendar committee these days. Thank you.
Okay, I'll wait, let's do the reports and then we can answer questions. Dave?
Just a couple weeks ago with Mike and Lori, able to attend the meeting where they're setting up that other than that, just, you know,
Yeah. Linda? Bill?
Had an opportunity to go to the C meeting up in Minneapolis on Friday, and it mirrored a lot of what Superintendent Funk was talking about with regards to, you know, what the initiatives will be for education this year. Chuck Uyghur, who's the chair of the Senate E12 committee, and then also the Ed Finance Committee, and then also the Ed Policy Committee as well. He felt there was going to be 3 areas: teacher development, recruitment, was going to be pushed, early education, you know, school readiness, scholarships, and then teacher development. So the one thing that he was concerned about is he's not seeing a lot of push for additional money from educators. So he's a little concerned about that because he doesn't see any money coming out of the House for K-12. He sees a little money coming out of maybe the governor's budget and out of the Senate, but that's about it. So they're a little concerned with the voice that's happening right now at the Capitol for K-12. There is a C day at the Capitol. It's scheduled for Albert Lee on the 17th of March. We're supposed to meet at the Transportation Building at 9:45. So I'm going to try to make that. So if anybody else wants to go, they can go with me. And then there's also a couple different presentations that C has out there if we want to take advantage of those where they come in. The first one that Deb Griffith, who is the media specialist for C, she has Why Do We Continue to Struggle? That's basically the inequities between property wealth districts and property poor districts. And then also a debt service equalization presentation that she's got that she feels is a good communication piece now with what's gone on, and it's a good way to kind of hold up the our representatives, our local ones. And then the last presentation was on assessment. It was Jennifer Dugan, and I'm glad I'm not an educator, so I didn't pay attention. It went way over my head.
And for those who might be watching on TV, can you just tell us again what C, just
Oh,
the acronym?
schools, C is an organization that Albert Lee has belonged to for, since its inception. And it's Schools for Equity in Education, and its primary purpose is to make sure that we have equal funding from an equalization standpoint across the state.
Okay, thank you. What time's the tea tomorrow?
Hang on, I've got it on my calendar. It is at 3:30? 3:30?
And where?
At the high school.
At the high school,
Commons area.
okay. All right, and then Jill, the Paper Tigers is a documentary for adults or students? I couldn't.
I think it's geared for adults. We don't have it yet, but we're hoping to order it into the community so that we can see it and find out a little bit more what they have going on.
Okay. Okay, and then Mike, the calendar committee membership.
Makeup hasn't changed since I've been in the district. We have representatives from each bargaining unit, and 1 or 2 parents from the community are on it.
Does that answer your question, Jill?
So, yeah, I remember I sat on it years ago, but I didn't remember in what capacity it was. So there are teachers and parents.
Teachers, parents, cooks, custodians, paras, secretaries. I don't know if I'm missing anybody. Yes, but it's a wide representation.
Okay. Then my report is a summary of our board evaluation that we did previously. And I sent out a draft to the board about what I'd planned to say. And I did get one concern that draft was too vague. And so I sought counsel from Dr. Funk and Kevin Rupp, because there is a state statute that requires that the, about what I'm going to say, meets the level of the statute. So I'm going to read a prepared document. I will give this document to Ashley, and then she can put it into the minutes, so Ashley don't have to take notes as we go. So these are my notes from my notes in my book here and from my memory. That's where this is coming from. So the board held a closed session of self-evaluation on January the 19th, 2016. This statement constitutes the board's summary of its conclusions regarding this evaluation. The board chair asked for an evaluation of his performance. His leadership was appreciated by the board without any significant concerns being addressed to the contrary. A suggestion was made to evaluate or summarize each board meeting at the end of each meeting. And I asked the communications from the district or from myself or the board to individual board members be acknowledged with a thank you or received regarding district business. 2 members shared concerns with one another regarding their relationships and interactions on the board and how it impacted their effectiveness. 1 member was asked how the feelings of others toward the superintendent impacted their role as a board member. That member was also asked at various times about contacts that were initiated with former employees of the district in their capacity as a board member. The member neither confirmed nor denied making these contacts. That there is not an open communication between a board member and the district administration was also a topic of discussion. A board member shared some concerns of items that transpired on the board during a few years ago, particularly treatment regarding a former board member. 2 board members agreed to meet to discuss their differences. A board member shared some concerns about how it was difficult to adjust as a new board member when they first came on the board, and this concern had lasted that board member through most of 2014. I emphasize that it's important to be supportive of the administration and, as always, to keep the focus on the students. And then we came out of closed session. Okay, the next item. Sure.
I'm just wondering, under what council did the board go into closed session for a self-evaluation?
Based upon the advice of our attorney, Kevin Rupp. I don't have the statute in front of me.
I do have the statute, and that particular statute that was addressed in the agenda had to do with going into closed session for individuals that were being supervised, and this does not meet that.
Right, and I think we could discuss that offline, but this is not a discussion topic on today's agenda. I don't feel we're not prepared to debate it. It's not fair to the other board members who don't have that statute in front of them. So I would suggest that we not discuss this any further and move on to the next agenda item. But I'd be happy to meet with you for as long as you like after we're finished.
I was considering as a point of order, just if we should have gone into closed session or not.
And again, we can discuss that at a later time. District goal setting 8.1. So here's the update. We went through the goal setting, was that 2 meetings ago, I guess? Is that right? Yeah, 2 meetings ago. And then Dr. Funk has shared that presentation with the building principals and some others, and there's been some modifications to it. And so now that form of it's going to go out to the teachers. And then when that's done, we'll get it back. And then we can share it with parents and get other feedback. But we wanted to have the principals and the teachers to have first round at, I hate to use the word wordsmithing it or changing it or giving different ideas. So is that where we are still?
Right, so the cabinet met last week, principals and directors. They have made some wordsmiths to it, and it is now going to the teachers by building. They will get it, it'll come back up to the cabinet. The cabinet will take another look at it, and then it'll come back to the board.
Probably.
Correct.
And that would be like in the next month, do you think, or 6 weeks?
I would say 6 weeks.
Okay. Questions? No? Okay. Item 9, effective and efficient operations, policies for annual review. Kathy, 9.1.1, policy 613, graduation requirements, first reading. And as we remember, there's 3 readings required for these, so this is number 1.
So I'm actually going to take a look at the second one first because it's a little easier to understand. And that is policy 616, and then we'll come back to the other one. So 616, the changes to it really have to do with some legislative language item changes and some report item changes. First, the legislature, if you don't have the opportunity to take a look at the 2015 Minnesota statutes, all of these fall under 120B. But they have really attempted this last year to be more in line with standards-based education, since we have K-12 academic standards. So some of the language changes are, for instance, taking the word course. So if you look under definitions where A, it says credit, formerly that said course credit. And so they really are formulating language that aligns with standards language. So the first change there is credit. Then in item B there, graduation standards means the credit, and they took the course credit out. Going to D on the next page is the new accountability reporting to the Department of Ed, which is World's Best Workforce, and so it just is a definition there of what that reporting is. Coming down the line under establishment of goals, under B, system for reviewing all instruction. So item B, if you go down, oh, there they are. She's quicker than I am. So the second sentence there, instruction and curriculum shall be reviewed and evaluated by taking into account strategies and best practices, student outcomes, and so the teacher and principal evaluation language is added there. And then district teaching and learning team is now the language we use as opposed to council, so that was changed. Item 2 under C, interesting that the School Board Association recommends that we use the word federal expectations in line with No Child Left Behind, which is a change that we hadn't made in our policy. Now with Every Student Succeeds Act, we may see that go back to more state control, but right now we're still under federal expectations. District Curriculum Committee is our committee that operates as our advisory committee on accountability. Under that, under 4, we just change of my title and Mary Jo's title to secondary programs and coordinator of programs. And then one of the very last items, G is reporting, is again what the World's Best Workforce reports under reporting. And so there's some language added there. So most of this language is just in line with the standards-based education language that the legislature is asking the Department of Education to move towards. So, and the World's Best Workforce. So that is, any questions on that policy?
That was the easier one to understand?
That was the easier one, I hate to
Okay,
say.
I can't wait for the other one.
Yeah, hashtag, they've changed the law again. So that one is relatively easy. I'm just gonna, I pulled out the statute because it's kind of interesting to read the 2010 statute on, and then I'm gonna talk about that document. But the 2010 statute on graduation requirements said course credits, and now it says just credits. And so, and most of these are secondary related. So in 2010, it said 4 credits of language arts. In 2015, it says 4 credits of language arts sufficient to satisfy all of the academic standards in English language arts. So they really add the standards language. 3 credits of mathematics encompassing at least algebra, geometry, statistics, and probability sufficient to satisfy the academic standard. It moves on in 2015 to say 3 credits of math to satisfy all of the academic standards in mathematics. So what was some fairly simple language in 2010 really has evolved into much lengthier language to really include the standards. So that is a big piece. There are also some credit equivalencies that are added to the new statute, which I think goes in a line with the standards concept where students, yes, pass courses, but they also meet standards. And Bill, in addition to everything else he's doing, is helping us
work on another policy that you'll hear in a couple of months, which really focuses on credit for learning. So what this is the new state graduation assessment requirements, which are also as part of our graduation policy. And the legislature, so the tests that students have to take are based on what year they started 8th grade. So over on the most left-hand side is for this year's seniors or older. And they had to meet or have met graduation assessment requirements through the grad testing. Well, the grad testing is now out of statute, and probably in a month after we take a look at the new policies, we will rescind the grad standard policy and move forward with new policy. So for this year's seniors and older, which also includes the students who are past their graduation date at the ALC, they still have to meet the grad requirements to graduate and earn a diploma. They have some alternatives. If they have not met requirements under the grad requirements, they can take the ACT. We're very fortunate at Riverland. The Workforce Development Center has worked really closely with our ALC students who wish to take the work keys test. They can also take ASVAB, or they can pass a local assessment, which we've approved as the AccuPlacer. So for all of those students, 2015, grade 12 and older, that is the requirement. All of our seniors, last year as juniors, had the opportunity to take the ACT. So that, and there's no cut score on the ACT, they just had to have taken the exam to meet the graduation requirements. So those are the federal standards-based accountability measures. For this, or I should say that 12 and older, this last year's students, of course, took the ACT, so that's the middle column. This year's juniors, they need to take the MCAs as a part of accountability, but they do not need to take them to graduate. So all they have to do is be offered the opportunity to participate in a district-provided college entrance exam in grades 11 and 12. And Bill, I got to hear Jennifer Dugan for about an hour and a half today talk about this via webinar. So this is our obligation to students this year, seniors, is to offer them the ACT. We had a nice turnout the other night of juniors and junior parents attending the ACT prep and informational meeting. So that document they rolled out last summer, which I thought was really nice, but then we have to put that into this policy. So the graduation policy, requirements policy, basically has to include meeting the standards, meeting the graduation assessment, and also meeting our credit requirements. We have not changed any of our credit requirements, but what the statute has done is it's kind of expanded how we can meet those credits. So the standards really kind of guide this policy. So there are quite a few changes. Starting on the first page of the policy under general statement, you'll see that it starts entering grades 9 in 2012-13, and then it goes down to this year's students, which are entering grade 9 and 13-14. That's basically the ACT requirements. Yep.
Kathy, the board has the red version of this. Okay.
Okay.
So what I would
Awesome.
encourage board members to do is just
Okay.
take a few minutes, look through it. If there's something really pressing on here that
Yeah.
you think there's a knock, the board really needs to be aware of. Otherwise, we could be here for
Perfect.
for a little while as you read through us your red paper.
So
as
all of,
red
all of that red stuff is mostly the change in the assessments. Pages and pages. We did not change any of the credits. There's no recommendations to change any of the graduation credit requirements. So that is so that's a little longer. But I liked that document from MDE. They pulled out a different one, but I think that one really helps explain how we have kids all across, across the high school who have to meet different requirements based on the legislature. So, that it? Okay. Yeah.
Jennifer was talking about how things are pretty scripted up through 2016, 2017 with regards to the assessments, but then what you do with them is in 2017 is what really the question mark is. Can you explain that a little bit further? Do you have a feel for what she was trying to talk about there?
Oh, well, there's going to be new reporting via Pearson Access Next, which is the new portal we're working on today and tomorrow. We're going to roll it out to principals a little bit more on Thursday. So the results are going to come out looking a little differently. We haven't seen what they're going to look like, but there's going to be growth scores. There's going to be the individual student report, and there's going to be college and career readiness alignment. Now, what they're going to align that with, we're not quite sure. So there'll be 3 different pieces to the student scores. So those will roll out hopefully this summer. That's about all I know.
Part of my concern was, as we're going through this goal setting, it's trying to keep that in mind, the 2016,
Sure.
how it ties in.
When we had the legislative committee here a few months ago, I think I don't know if you were in the room, I think you were, Bill. Question I asked them was, what's your focus at the secondary level? Is it MCA or ACT? And of course, they gave me a great political answer, both. But that's what we're really looking at as a district is, and our teachers back here are looking at us, okay, if you want us to be talking standards-based, great, but the ACT standards and the MCA standards aren't necessarily aligned. So that's a concern we have, continue to have.
Thanks, Kathy. So reading 2, and then we'll vote on the third reading.
All right.
So if anybody has any other suggested changes, let Kathy know. Send her an email. Thank you. All right, item 10, closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 13D.03, labor negotiations. I would need a motion to go into closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. We're in closed session.